Hey, welcome to Inside the 90. I'm Jami Melkin. I'm your host today, and very excited to have John Sterling here with us. John and I have crossed paths over 15 or 20 years, and we're reconnecting. And I was like, hey, let's just get on the podcast and share some stories.
Yeah, when else are we going to sit down for this long and just talk with no interruptions?
Yeah.
Probably just this one time.
Yes.
That's good.
But, there's a couple of things I want to hit. One, I definitely want to get to what you're excited about right now, because you are a passionate entrepreneur, sales leader, and are doing some really cool stuff that I've seen. But going back, about 30 years in Greenville, South Carolina, there was this awesome company you were part of called DataStream.
Yeah.
And I've never heard the full story.
So. Well, full story would take a long time, but I'll give you the abridged version. It was called DataStream, and a couple of things came together. You have to get a little bit lucky sometimes, but I, after college, went to Silicon Valley thinking, I'm going to figure this technology thing out. And I did figure out kind of how to sell it. Like, I was working for some of the great entrepreneurs out there, showing me how to sell technology quicker than the way people were traditionally selling it, which the old way was we're going to take four guys, log up, you take the computers, and it was this huge process. And out there, of course, they were just calling people up, doing demos, free trials, stuff that we still do today. So when I came back to Greenville after a couple of years, I was looking for an opportunity, and I found this guy, Larry Blackwell, and he had a 4-person company that sold software to treatment plants. And I found, asked him about his sales, and he was kind of stuck. His sales were kind of stuck. He really didn't have much of a sales effort at that time. And I find that still today. We'll go into this later, but so many people are stuck in sales, but they don't even have like a real effort going on to get there.
Yeah.
They're just mad they don't have one.
Yeah.
So anyway, I said, well, how about this? I know how to do it to some degree. I'll join you and be your sales guy, but I'd like to buy part of the company, or at least have an option to buy it, if it works. And he agreed. And so, we worked very hard for about 5 years, just really struggling and fighting to get to about $5 million in sales, and we started at less than $500,000. And we were pretty happy with ourselves, honestly, at $5 million, coming from nothing.
Yeah.
And we found this guy named Ries, who was a marketing guru, genius guy, written a bunch of books, consulted for Microsoft, all these people, about positioning and marketing your company. And he came and consulted with us for one day. And after one day, he gave us a write-up of 1 page. It was bullet points. I would do this. I would do. He says, I would claim to be the leader in the market. I wouldn't do anything else but what you're doing now. In fact, make it even a tighter focus.
Yeah.
He said, go international. He said, go public, and then use the money from going public to buy all your smaller competitors.
Wow.
So you're, in fact, claiming to be the leader, then doing all the things necessary to become the leader. And and then we said, well, Al, how do we do this? We didn't know how to go public or buy a company. And he said, well, you're going to have to figure that out for yourself.
Here's my invoice.
Yeah, it was $10,000. It was one day for $10,000, but the best money we ever spent. So anyway, the next 15 years are what most people know about. And we grew from 5 million to 100 million. And we bought 6 companies around the world. We did go public. We bought other competition. We stayed focused on that market, the maintenance market. And, we ended up, selling the company to a much bigger company for, a lot of money.
Yeah.
And, along the way, what I learned about sales also kind of came at a good time. Almost the same time Al gave us his advice, as I found a guy named Bill Lee, again, a third-party person. And I was one of those people. I was struggling with my sales force. There were people that I'd hired, people that I liked. But it's like the very uneven results every month. Some of them weren't making as many calls as the others. Some of them were late. Some of, all these things. It was just driving me nuts. And so I hired Bill to come in and look at everything. And he said, what's the matter? And I said, well, this and that and this and that. And he goes, well, what about this Todd character, this Todd Lorbach? He seems to be doing well. I'm like, well, yeah, Todd's great. He always crushes this number.
Yeah.
He's early. He has his own key to get in the building. I said, he's just wonderful. If so Todd, but the rest of them stink. And he goes, well, let's just get all Todd's. I'm like, well, how in the world would I do that? And that's where I learned about creating the avatar.
Yeah, yeah.
Todd was from Greenville. He was a great high school athlete. He went to a local school. He went to Clemson. He was a campus leader. And then when he came to interview with us, we tested him. We got his Kolbe profile, and it came out to a certain type numbers.
And this was Kolbe in the 90s, right?
Yes.
You were an early user of
Yes,
Kolbe.
yes. And so then we said, from now on, we're looking for people that went to a local school from the area, competitive athlete kind of people, and campus leaders. And so we hired, almost 100 of them, girls and guys, Clemson, Wofford, Furman, Citadel. And it created, you asked earlier, it created this, they called it like a fraternity or sorority or 5th Battalion from the Citadel, or like this great mix of people. And they went on to start businesses together, hire each other, marry each other.
Yeah.
It's just been remarkable. And not a day goes by. I mean, we sold a company 15 years ago that I'm not talking to at least one of them every single day.
Yeah. Back during that era of the 90s, I was on the advertising side working with agencies. And then as I got into, 10 years down the road, got into the corporate tech stuff, everyone I worked with was a data stream alumni, and then even still today, still a lot of great friends and clients. Scott Millwood's a client now, and it just seems like y'all had really something magical.
It was magical, but it wasn't magic. It was an avatar.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart sometimes when I couldn't hire someone that I really liked. If Frank over here was a friend of mine's nephew, and went to Clemson and he had all this stuff, but his score wasn't in the same ballpark as Todd.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it because when the ones that were out of range for this job were the ones that previously had driven me crazy.
Correct. Yes.
They didn't want to make the next call, or they couldn't make the next call.
Yeah.
So putting them in the right spot or the wrong spot is a disservice to them.
Yeah.
So another thing, I know you worked at KeyMark, had a great run at KeyMark, and I'd met Jim Wanner, the founder there, 20 years ago. Just met him, or whatever time frame it was, a long time ago. We met, and we just kind of met, and then that was it. We hadn't talked really since. And I did a little consulting work out for their sales team, and I left him a book, and then I got an email from him saying, hey, why don't we get together? So I went over there to the lake, I guess, wherever they live, Kiwi or something like that. So
this is recent?
Yeah, just like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha.
And so I went over there, and we were just talking. It was like we were like real friends, like he knew a lot about me.
Yeah.
And I finally figured it out because he kept referencing people, but like John Harrison and
Dan Christie.
Yeah. He said, John, Dan Christie wouldn't shut up about you. Yes. So he talked about you every week. So he clearly felt like he already knew me.
Correct, yeah.
It was just it was wild, but it was delightful to get to meet him, and I'm so happy for what they've done at KeyMark. It's another great tech success for our area.
Yeah, it's was a sleeper 15 years ago, just being in the Clemson area, not being in downtown Greenville. And then I got to go there in 2014 and was there for 5 years, and it was awesome. It was a ton of fun.
Well, another thing on the DataStream story and the KeyMark story, for that matter, is many entrepreneurs, particularly the startup types, such a hurry. We got to figure this TAM out. We got to crush it. And, okay, that's fine. But most of these companies that you see that are successful, it's a 20-year deal.
Correct.
So be careful which one you start, because you're going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
And think about KeyMark out there in Clemson, just plodding away year after year. Now they're the toast of the town.
Yeah.
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 And DataStream was the same way. I mean, we were on Mills Avenue.
Yeah.
We were just nothing, and then all of a sudden, you finally hit it. So, but anyway, on the DataStream story, I think the great lessons there are, the very first lesson is you must be present to win. Like you have to try to do something in order to do something. You can't just say, well, boy, I wish I'd have been lucky like that Jim Wanner guy and, gotten one. Like, no, he tried it. He started a business and could have had a much easier job somewhere else, I'm sure. And same thing with Larry Blackwell, who was a PhD in environmental engineering, and he started a little tiny business with 3 people. And me, for that matter, I could have had a normal job, but I'm like, nope, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to own a piece of the pie. So that's the first piece of it, is you have to try to do it. And then I would try to find the narrowest slice of the pie you can of what you're trying to do. Just the tiniest niche. In our maintenance market we were in used to be, we would think, it's a broad market. Everybody needs maintenance. This building needs maintenance. Our cars need maintenance. So we were a general player, and we did pretty well. Fast forward 15 years, there's 100 niches in maintenance. There's people that do it just for trucks, or just for boats, or just for boat yards, or EMS drivers. There's maintenance people for each one of those now. So there's room for you if you make it a small enough niche.
Yeah, that's the whopper clause. So Dan Christie always talked about the whopper clause, and having a rep sell a really big deal.
Yeah.
And so that you wrote something about that recently, right?
Yeah, I think I put it in my book. I think I did. But yeah, it's a battle, between the financial people and revenue people or salespeople. When a sales rep, gets a really big deal, because if they're making a 10% commission, it's $2 million deal. It's $200,000.
Yeah.
And if you're running finance, you might have 4 people that make that in the whole year.
Yeah.
So I know how it must feel funny, but I want those reps, thinking about those big numbers.
Well, that was Jim. To Jim's credit, and Dan too. There's once you hit a certain point, pay as much as you possibly can on the commission side, because that's your costs are already sunk.
Right.
So just keep incentivizing those reps, and don't put a cap on it. But I do remember the story about that would come up every now and then. And then when we finally got John Harrison at KeyMark, that was I think he was the legend behind the whopper clause.
Yeah, I think he was the one who busted the whopper clause. And it was it is amazing though. It's just, what do they call it? The invisible hand of the economy. If you put a whopper clause in the million, like anybody who sells over $1 million, commission goes from 10% to 2%, because that's just too much. And the company did a lot of the work, and you got lucky and whatever. We're not going to be selling anything over $1 million.
Correct. Yes.
Just go ahead and count it. So it'll be like $1 million this month and $1 million next month, or $1 million next year or something. But no one's going to take the reduced commission. So I say you go the opposite way. You encourage people, think big. How much money can you make? Because every time I pay him 10%, every time he makes $200,000, I make $1.8 million.
Yeah.
Think of it that way.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, so now let's talk about current state.
Sure.
And I really you talked about 3 things that have you excited right now. What are those?
I'll give you 3. I'll save the wildest for last. The first one is I really enjoyed buying other software companies. And so one of the things I learned how to do during the last 10 years of the data stream time, when we had all that stock and all that money to buy people, was buying other companies. And, we found companies and bought companies in Germany and the UK and France and Singapore and Buenos Aires. And I think there was one more, but there was like 5 or 6 that we bought around the world. And that was, a big part of my job is making that happen. So I learned how to do it. And so I've been doing that as part of my business since we sold the company. And I've got almost 4 now. I've got 3, and I've got an LOI on the 4th one. And they're just, older industrial software companies, people that did not make that leap from, $1 million to $5 million to 10 or whatever. And in every case so far, it's been someone who built a nice business. they had probably a real nice lifestyle for them for a number of years, and they're ready to retire. And I've got a nice back office group of people to handle the business. So I'm enjoying that, and they call it the silver tsunami, which is so many people that are kind of retiring now, particularly in the tech space that might have gotten started in the 80s or the 90s. And so I'm looking closely at all of those, trying to buy them, and then use the stuff that we learned during DataStream to make them grow. Yeah. So I'm having a good time.
Are you having to a lot of times? Well, my assumption is a lot of times the code needs to be updated or is out of date. Are you having to rebuild any of those? Are you really buying the tools and the customer base? What does that look like?
Generally speaking, this is one of the weird things about older industrial software companies is, we have upgraded. You have to upgrade to like the latest Microsoft tools and things like that. The databases. I mean, there's one of the companies I bought had I forget what it was called. It was an old database that wasn't even hardly current. And so you have to do that level of upgrades. But in terms of like a wholesale, here's a new product, we did it all vibe coded and all this stuff. These customers have had these products so long.
Yeah.
They don't want to switch.
Yeah, and they're reliable.
Yeah, they're reliable. They're connected to all the stuff. Everything seems to kind of work. And if they pull everything out and put in a new thing of ours, or more importantly, a new thing of somebody else's, it's a big risk.
Correct, yeah.
And so we generally just kind of keep them upgraded to the technology we have to. And then if there's features that they still want or need, we'll add those gradually over time. So nothing really wholesale.
Do you onboard their people and teams, or you just buy the product?
We buy the product, the customers, and in some cases some other assets, and then the relationships with the employees we also inherit. And in some cases we keep them. In some cases we keep them as contractors or part-time. But in some cases we don't. It just depends on the situation. We do have, full-time people working that, do tech and support and marketing and sales and accounting. So I kind of have that backbone set already. So for me to add another one on top of it, this doesn't cost me a lot more money.
Yeah.
So I do have to control those expenses. Gotcha.
And then on the coaching side, that's where I see you the most. So what's going on there?
Yeah. I love the coaching. So having been a sales manager and a coach for those reps for so long, there's probably nothing easier for me to do in order to add value to somebody, or more fun for me than to help them take their team that's struggling and help them gradually become a team that can really scale up. And one of the reasons I like it is because I was there. Remember, I told you the story earlier. I was so frustrated with my team, and I was just mad at them. And I should have been mad at myself. I picked those people. I trained those people. So if they're not doing what I want, it's my fault.
Yeah.
And that's not the easiest thing to tell an owner sometimes. But, I mean, I like to see it when they can break through and start hiring the people that make more sense for their job. It makes the team stronger, and they can slowly start to grow. And if they don't have the avatar, if they don't start hiring and kind of doing the regular training, then we might not make it out of there. And the other piece of it, like you mentioned, the whopper clause, a big lever that we have as sales coaches is the comp plan.
Yeah.
And I've very often it won't be a very good comp plan that I see at a new company, and I'm like, well, that's almost good news because we can switch it and the behavior will change.
Correct. Yeah.
And some of the worst things I see are things like, well, we had to pay him, we had to pay him $80 to get him, but now we can't afford. We can pay him 2.5% commission. I'm like, oof, you got it backwards.
Yes,
you got it backwards. I mean, it's almost too much work to only make 2.5% commission to do all you have to do to make a sale. So just putting more incentive on performance is key, and making it very simple.
Yeah. Have you seen anything change over time? Is it the same motivations and the same behaviors that still make a good sales rep today?
I think computer skills and curiosity is another part of the avatar now for the kind of people I'm coaching. Is they need to be like really quick with the computer and interested in it.
Yeah.
Not just doing it because they have to, because it could give you such an advantage to learn about people or get ideas on approaches or what should this sales letter look like, or it's just amazing, obviously, what you can do with it. So I don't want a Luddite, or even a semi-Luddite in there. And the other piece of it is, we used to be like most people back then. It was like, you got to be here by this time. You don't leave until 5:30. We're watching me and Larry watching out the corner window, for who's leaving early. Yeah. And now I know. Well, what difference does it make? They could have just stayed in the building and goofed off for an hour and a half.
Yeah,
we weren't watching them in the office.
Yeah.
It could have been on the internet, surfing around. So it's just so dumb. So another thing that's changed is I think you've got to manage, kind of COVID manage, like, here's the number we're looking for.
Yeah.
Here's the activities that are acceptable. That generally speaking, we want you to do these activities, but make sure you make this number. And we don't care if you go to the zoo or a softball game or sleep till 10. I don't care.
Yeah.
And then I want less. They want less meetings.
Yeah.
So don't be
high trust and accountability.
Yeah, and like once a week maybe.
Yeah.
Once a week, but not like, okay, everyone gather up. Jami's got another idea about pricing.
Another thing Dan would say is 2:00, reviewing a deal board every day.
Yeah.
At Data Stream.
Yeah.
It was like every day. It was like things haven't changed that much here in the past day.
Yeah. Well, that was interesting. Dan's remembering that. But yeah, Larry was, he was a naval officer. And so he was very, he had his schedule.
Yeah.
And it was 2:00 every day. And every sales manager came in his conference room and they'd have to update everyone on what their number was for the quarter. And it kind of became like everyone would just lie about it the whole time. So you'd say, if your number's supposed to be 250, you'd say, well, 250, sir. 250, sir. I'd go on and say, and then finally, what's 250? Someone would be, really tanking it that quarter. And about 10 days out, he'd say, 175. And Larry would go, why? He just start screaming. So, it wasn't very scientific, but I think the good thing about that was, nobody misunderstood how important it was.
Correct.
You're important to this company, and we're going to have to be accountable every day to the number. And so just it'd be better for you if you just make the number versus I hadn't heard from Larry. I hadn't seen Larry in 4 days. What's he up to? You're like, no. The CEO was very interested, and he did the same thing with programmers and QC people and support. I mean, he was just,
And Jim Wanner is like that too. I mean, Jim's passionate about closing deals. That is where his heart is. And he every morning he's calling. There's no wasted minute in the car. Right. I mean, he is checking in on every deal and how can I help? What do we need to do? Yeah. And that intensity is actually creates a culture of a high performing sales team. Yes. The expectation is that we know our deals. We know where we are. Yeah. Don't get caught off guard without an answer. Yeah. That can be embarrassing.
Yeah. Everything starts at the top. Everyone's watching and following that leader. So that's a good memory. The old 2:00 meeting.
What type of companies are you coaching today?
They are. I'm trying to think. They're all tech companies. They're. Well, actually, there are several, like 3 or 4 are tech companies doing some kind of software or cybersecurity type stuff. But one is the market leader in Myrtle Beach Golf Packages.
Oh, wow.
Myrtle Beach Golf Vacations. And it's a big number. I mean, it's the biggest customer that I'm coaching. I think they have 15 sales reps. But it's funny because I'm coaching these guys are wonderful. They're for their avatar for a sales rep. It's like from Myrtle Beach, former golf pro.
Yeah.
So they worked golf for a while, so they know everything about the Strand, and they're just great dudes. And very good at the details of pulling the trip together, how many people and where they staying and tee times and organizing all that. But getting them to use things like, I mean, seriously, to use some of the AI tools that are available to make things easier, or instead of doing a phone call, doing a web call, so you can show them the courses and things like that. It's just not in their nature. It's not like kind of how they grew up selling. And so, trying to help them slowly get to that point where I think it'd be easier to sell if you could show them, here's the course we're talking about, here's the view from your room. But anyway, it's actually the owner's one of the ex Data Stream sales guys. Parker Smith is a great guy, great entrepreneur, and so it's a lot of fun.
So the one thing I forgot about this till now, but you did the coolest AI thing I have seen in sales about 6 months ago, or maybe even longer than that. When you did the avatar thing,
with the sales professor,
it was incredible. Like I actually, explain that. Like, is it still live? Is that
it's live? You can go to my website, sterlingsales.co. and go to the sales professor. And what we did, I've got a wonderful young programmer, I suppose, but just he can do anything. He's amazing. But I said, I want to have everything that's available from me on the internet, my book and podcasts and all that stuff, downloaded into this avatar, and then get my face and do something with my lips to make it, whatever. I'm just making all this up like there's no damn way.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, we could do it this weekend. He says, it took a few hours.
Wow.
Oh my God, I love you. I love you. And so anyway, we met over the weekend. He took some videos, some pictures. He had me say some words. I forget what it's 11 Labs, I think, might be the company that does the lip syncing stuff. But yeah, and so you can ask the darn thing any sales question you want, and it will give you my answer based on all of that information, and it works pretty well.
Yeah, I used it as a test, and I think I said something like, I've got a prospect who's not responding, and I need to send them an email. Like what should I say? And I put it in there, and your eyes blinked and the head nodded for a second, and you just started speaking right to me. And I was
crazy.
like, this is insane.
It is insane.
Super cool.
I know.
And it wasn't that Max Headroom vibe, right? It wasn't like,
wasn't jerky.
It wasn't overly artificial. It was like, it had your voice, it had your words, and it was super cool. So are any of your clients actually using that?
I don't think so. It's one of those things. It's one of my John ideas that I just thought, my God, if I could do this, it's going to spread all over the world, and it's like, no, that's nice, So all right, but it's out there, and maybe it'll lead to something else. I know Steve Jobs, he said that just try things, and you never know what might lead to something else. Like he studied the fonts when he was in college briefly, all those old fonts, and it became the Apple font. So, I give myself a little attitude to try some crazy stuff, but I couldn't believe it worked either. It was amazing.
No, it's super cool. And you've been doing some AI stuff now, and that's evolved, right?
Yeah. So the same guy, as soon as I read about OpenClaw, I started, doing some homework on it. And then I called him, and he says, I'm on it. I knew you were going to call. I'm like, yeah, okay, so let's do this. So I've got him working for me now, not full-time, but a good chunk of time on the side. And, we have our own OpenClaw, mission control, our kind of our dashboard of what we're trying to do. And so I've got, 4 companies now. And each one of those companies has an outbound messaging thing going out to what they think the best prospects are every day. Maybe we're not doing too many, like 5 or 10 prospects a day per company. And we're getting leads from it. I've got a CFO, and I should have called him Christy, but I called him Alex. So sorry, Dan. the CFO every month it sends the accounting people messages saying, send me the P&L, send me the balance sheet, send me the whatever cash flow, whatever they want. And then it comes back to me with kind of the CFO's monthly advice. This is what I would do. This is what I recommend. And so over time, not only is that a transaction that happens between me and Alex, but Alex gets to know me better every month. It will refer back to something happened 3 months ago.
Correct, yeah.
And so that's pretty amazing.
And is that for each company that you've acquired? So basically it's going across all of them, but aggregating that up to you.
Yeah.
Very good.
And then M&A is the same way. If we're we're out there searching for these deals in these markets, they come back. It sends them emails, gets us appointments, and then if we're interested, we'll send it to this M&A person, and it will give us, this is what we think this company's worth and what you might offer. And so, different little agents for different things. And so it's been, it's to me, it's as exciting. And, Jami, I've been at this a long time. When computers first came out, I was so excited. I just, been out of college a little while, that I drove out to California and kind of got in the middle of it and went to work out there. And I got lucky. My first job was with Nolan Bushnell, who'd invented Pong.
Yeah.
And it sold to Atari, and he had all this money. He'd start all these companies. And so I was just so excited. I didn't know exactly where the computer thing was going, but I just knew it was something big. And so I did that. And then when the internet came out, when we had DataStream, that was the next kind of biggest thing I'd seen, which is like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Talking to anyone everywhere, computers talking to each other. So that was a fun thing. And I believe this agentic time, this OpenClaw time, I think it's going to be bigger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, we the way I like to explain it to people who aren't like as computer savvy as you are is these are, we all understand like you might have a robot running around cleaning the carpet for you while you're at the zoo or something. Okay. Well, this is like having a Roomba, in your computer or 100 of them doing things like looking for the next business to buy or finding you a new lead or evaluating your company and giving you advice or whatever you can think of. And it's just doing all this work in the background for you, and it's, for almost no cost.
Yeah. So how many agents do you have running right now?
Well, I had 30-something within the first weekend because I was crazy. And then when the guy shows up the next week, he goes, John, we can't have 30. We got to. So obviously, I would say don't do it that way because it was everything I could think of. I got my little Roomba. So I cut it back. I just met with him today. I think I'm at 6 now. And so, the things that are working the best, we're going to put more time into. Keep refining the instructions, keep looking at the results, refine the instructions, look at the results. But it's like having a new employee.
Correct.
Almost.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Yeah.
Is how long does it take you to, in essence, onboard that employee?
Well, I could pick up my phone right now and create an agent called Jami, my marketing guru, and it would take, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And, I would say, I want you to look at all my websites once a week and already knows my websites and give me advice on what I can do to make my SEO better and do a better job with my clients. So I could have that done immediately, but then I would have to look at it, at least once a week, if not every day, saying what kind of eyeballs are we getting on the website? How's the SEO rating? How many leads are we getting? What are we doing? Let's run it again, and so I would have to keep looking at it, which means, again, if I have 30 of these things, I just don't have time to take care of them all.
Because you're managing 30 people, right?
So I don't have a Jami app agent right now. So to answer your question, I think I've got 6, and it's just the ones that are working the best, and we're going to focus on them and try to get them right. But eventually, it could be 100, could be 1,000. Did you read about? Do you follow Jami? Not Jami. Jason Lemke.
I know the name.
He runs a company called SaaStr. It's a SaaS training company.
Yeah.
But he's kind of doing it. If anyone's interested in this, should follow Jason. But he had 21 or 22 people in his company, which is mainly a SaaS training company, and he's cut it down to 4.
Wow.
4 people. And these 4 people are all managing something like 6 or 7 agents to do what these other people used to do.
Yeah.
An example that he gave, which is a real life example, is he puts on a big show every year, and he had, I think, 4 salespeople, and he had maybe 100,000 names of people that had interested in the past but never bought anything, and he was always like, why didn't anyone call those people? No one ever called them, right? No one calls the old leads.
Yes, yeah.
No matter what we say.
We want the Glengarry leads.
They want the good leads. They want the good leads. So he put the damn agent on it and had him calling them, 24/7, and got 20% of his revenue from that show from that list at a cost of 0.
Yeah.
So you go ding, ding, ding. Okay, I'm starting to, something's starting to happen here. So there are things like that are just you can't dispute that works, or customer care, checking on customers. Mm-hmm. We've all seen it for a while now with those chatbots and support. It's kind of an agent kind of thing. So there's just areas where it works great, and I think it's just going to expand.
Yeah, you hit my first use case when I got Claude and co-work and dispatch set up. I was going to do open call. I was a little nervous.
Yeah.
And then, 3 weeks after open call, they came out with co-work and dispatch.
Yeah.
My very first one, I was like, my use case is I want to go to my home website, go to the homepage, because we have a bunch of JavaScript animation stuff on it. And it was loading too slow.
Yeah.
And I was like, go through and optimize it from an SEO perspective to decrease the load time on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing tons of vibe coding, but so going to this more agentic agent just blew my mind, because I watched the cursor move. I watched it go through, and it literally went into the code. I gave it I set up an email address. I gave it a user to our CMS, and it literally went in and did all that. And it took it about an hour and a half, and it actually rocked my world so much. That was 2 weeks ago. That I've been trying to think through, like, all right, what's the logical next thing I need to do? Because I want to plan it right, give it the time. But it is in essence onboarding that employee.
Right.
And then, do you know Chris Rogers?
I don't think I do.
He was the CTO for Millwood at Customer Effective.
Okay.
He was the first employee, I think.
Okay.
But he's kind of coming on as our CTO in residence right now, just to help us figure out the footprint of all this. And we met this week. He's been working with us for about a week on some use cases that he came in, and he was like, before we go forward, you do know, like, this replaces employees, right? Because he had dug in enough and talked to, and I was like, well, I do, but that's not our goal. Like, our goal is actually to increase the revenue with the killer team that we have right now.
Yeah.
And we're still going to add some other roles too. Mm-hmm. But really, as a professional services firm, the only thing we have is time,
Right.
and figuring out how can we, basically increase the value of the services that we provide.
Right.
Because there's all these little niche skills that on an agency, it takes a unicorn to know how to do all the things, and you're never going to hire that exact right person that can do them all. So just taking these little sliver skill sets and building agents for it.
Yeah, and have it do something. And I've read, I think this is true based on my experience, but if you ask someone to be, let's say, my SEO agent or something like that, your skill level is going to be top 10%.
Yeah.
Because it's drawing from everything across the internet they can find. So it's maybe not the very best, but it's not too far down.
Yeah. Yeah, so, it is. And I think SEO is one of those things that can be agentic, but you take someone who knows SEO really well,
even better.
Then you equip them with that, and they know the nuances on what to do more than that 10%, and you've now got a 1% agent.
So I hope that, it's good for my business. Getting more revenue, I'm running things more efficiently, doing a better job with customers. I mean, every part of it can be better, but also hope to use it on behalf of my coaching clients.
Yeah.
That can help them use some of these things I've learned to, like, find more leads, evaluate people differently, that kind of thing. So it all kind of comes around, I guess.
Well, it's definitely exciting times. It's fun.
It's awesome. It is fun. It is fun. It's very fun.
So if anyone's listening and you own a software company and you're interested in having a conversation with John, or you need some sales coaching from a pro and you want to find John, where do we find you?
So John at sterlingsales.co.
sterlingsales.co.
We couldn't afford the M. Just, yeah. So, just pop me an email. I'd love to talk to anybody. It'd be great.
All right. And your podcast, what's your?
Podcast is noobschool.com.
Noob.
Noob school.com. Yes. I wrote a book called Sales for Noobs. And so the podcast is Noob School. And it's really just about selling in general. And so we talk to people that are salespeople, people that want to be salespeople, sales managers, entrepreneurs like yourself about how selling affects your business. So I kind of think my next book might be Everybody Sells, because we can make a case that you could be a second grade teacher. You better be a good salesperson.
Great. Yeah.
So so we talk about sales.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Please go look up John, and I'm scheduled for your podcast, I think, later in May.
Yes.
So excited to be on that.
It's going to be great.
And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, bud. Appreciate it.
All right.